Also, ex-players going in on the manager. It was a bit of a weird day yesterday, and there are plenty of rumours around from people opening their gob, players telling him this, ex-players saying that. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's probably Ten Hag's biggest problem at the moment is the pile-on that he's getting from people who are just saying stuff subtly, who I think should just open up their gobs. Because it's very, very clear to me that there is a movement to remove Ten Hag. And a lot of you this morning are looking at the De Zerbi news and saying, oh, I'm not watching this, I'm not interested in this. But it's a news show, people. And De Zerbi, yesterday, there was at least 3 stories talking about De Zerbi and Ineos' interest in him. I don't want to be talking about this. I want to be unpacking the weekends. I want to be looking forward. Got Fabrizio Romano on the show. That's all going to be about transfers. Don't worry about that. But look, we're here to talk about the news. De Zerbi is the latest manager that Man United and Ineos are very interested in. One down by the looks of it. It looks like Graham Potter is going to Ajax. So that's a positive. That's one mistake that can't join Manchester United. I would certainly say that De Zerbi's an improvement in Potter and Southgate, but I still feel he's not the right guy. So we'll start off with that because we've got a lot to talk about this morning. Sal says, bring back Beth. Don't worry. Beth was on the last show last night and she was on the morning show this morning and she'll be on again today. So don't worry about that. Should have got her on the morning show, actually. I feel absolutely rough today. I don't know whether it's pollen or what, but Mark, thoughts on the young centre-back? Played really good game and mainly was going to be world-class, says Paul. Look, I can't lie to you as I offer up the De Zerbi story. You know, it's not just me. I'm not going to name who else, but we're all getting stuff from around the club that Ten Hag's done. I did a video last week. We are getting stuff now. Whether we believe this stuff is I don't. Bloody Rio Ferdinand stood at a train station and said Qatar was getting the club and it didn't happen. So, ex-players for me, I'm a little bit like, how close are you to it? I think Gary Neville's close to it because he's working with Ineos on the rejuvenation of the area around Old Trafford. He's very clearly Ten Hag out, in my opinion. There are others who are saying Ten Hag's done no matter what. There are others saying that the players don't like him. So I think this is Ten Hag's biggest problem, really, is that Sky saying that Potter rejected Ajax, says Robert. Well, there we go. He's back in the race then. And McKelvis said it as well. So Potter's back in the race if he's rejected Ajax, which is worrying. But look, Ten Hag's biggest problem is even when you get a good result against Liverpool, even when you get robbed against Chelsea, so many people have made their mind up. And yet we know the mitigating circumstances around injury. I mean, it's interesting. Robert McCormack's just reminded me there. No one's talking about the fact that Scott McTominay wasn't on the bench yesterday. I mean, is that another injury? Is that yet another player that's out injured for Manchester United in a key game? So, you can say what you like about McTominay. He's scored important goals this season. So, the injuries go on. The uncertainty from the leadership and ownership goes on. And I think that, as well, Ten Hag still has the best win ratio of any manager. So, and yet there is still this pile on. And on top of that, you mentioned Camboire, Mainu. These are players that Ten Hag has brought into the team. These players never would have touched grass under Jose Mourinho, by the way. He's just not that sort of... Mourinho would not have used Mainu and Camboire. And there are managers out there that would not have used them. So as much as people criticise Ten Hag, I wish there would be some acknowledgement that not every manager would throw in an 18-year-old into holding midfielder away to Everton and then trust him every week since. Not everybody would throw in Camboire at centre-back against Liverpool. Like, they wouldn't. They'd do something... Mourinho would put McTominay at centre-back. Oh, he's injured. I'll put Casemiro at centre-back. Like, there is never really much appreciation for that in the mainstream and also in certain sections of our fan base, that what he does with the youth, not many managers do. So if you do sack Ten Hag and a new manager comes in, I don't want Southgate anywhere near the club, but I don't think Southgate's the sort of guy that will do that. Oh, but he played him in a couple of friendlies for England. Yeah, because it's a PR hit. Would he do it when his job's on the line? That's when you find out who's really about the youth. Because Ten Hag's job's been on the line all season, and yet he's thrown these kids in because he believes in it. And I think that's really important. Alex says, happy birthday for yesterday. I think we should just give Gary Neville and Carragher the United job since they know it all, says Alex. Well, I want to talk about some of the things that Gary said in a moment, but let's talk about the De Zerbi story because this is news. I'm also going to talk about the penalty. I need to get a bit of a poll going on here as well. Do you let me see. Do you think it was a penalty? I suppose the next one is, do you care? I don't really care. But I'll talk about that in a moment. So, look, yesterday morning before the game, there was a couple of stories in the Sunday papers saying that Man United really appreciate De Zerbi and he's of high interest to Ineos. Look, if, as some people say, Ten Hag's a dead man walking and he's gone, and we'll ask Fabrizio at lunchtime about this because he said last week there's a high chance he'll stay, there is very conflicting stories. And that's the first question I'm going to ask Fabrizio at lunchtime is Ten Hag likely to be our manager next season? Because Fabrizio will be well sourced and he won't want to say something that's not going to happen. There are a lot of rumours going around, some of them from ex-players, some of them from within the club, some of them from players, that Ten Hag's a dead man walking and he'll be gone no matter what. Whether that's right or wrong, if he does go, and we have to, take it that it could happen, then where do Man United go next? Well, as I've said, Southgate is a very real opportunity that Ineos want to progress because of Dan Ashworth. Another manager would be Graham Potter, who has apparently rejected Ajax. And then you've got De Zerbi now, who, again, has a Dan Ashworth link because Dan Ashworth... Although, had Dan Ashworth already left Brighton when they got De Zerbi? He must have done. Yeah, he must have done because De Zerbi came in... Yeah, I think Dan Ashworth had already gone, but it's still it's still Brighton, isn't it? As we know, the Nice coach is a disciple of De Zerbi as well. As I said to you before, the current Nice coach, which is owned by Ineos, he is a disciple of De Zerbi. So the connections are there: Brighton, Ineos, Nice, De Zerbi, and this is apparently now a manager that Manchester United would look at. I watched Brighton play against Arsenal on Saturday. Lots of good players. Crap. I've seen them get stuffed by Roma, stuffed by Fulham, stuffed by Luton. I don't get why you would spend £15 million, because that's the release clause for De Zerbi. In fact, it might be 20. I don't get why you'd spend 15 to 20 million pounds to get De Zerbi out of Brighton and then spend 10 sacking Ten Hag. So you're spending about 25 million pounds to remove Ten Hag and bring De Zerbi in. I mean, that to me would be absolute stupidity. So regardless of whether you think he's better than Ten Hag, or regardless of whether you think De Zerbi is the guy, somebody explain to me why it's worth 20 million quid, 25 million quid of an outlay to pay his release clause and sack Ten Hag. On what? One good season last year. Hello? Our manager did well last year as well. So if we're ignoring De Zerbi's been shit this year, why are we ignoring that Ten Hag's been shit this year, and why don't we just stick with what we've got for another year rather than spending the money on De Zerbi? And that's sort of my mic drop, really, because Brighton haven't been that good this year. They play a good style of football, but the foundation was there to do that. And also, I think the people who say, well, De Zerbi plays a better brand of football than Ten Hag, but he inherited a club that played football. Like Potter's Brighton played football. So you walk into a club with players that can play football and a structure that buys players that can play football. Brighton have arguably got the best recruitment in Europe. They buy players with the right mentality and the right footballing traits, and they all fit into the system. If De Zerbi came to Man United, his biggest problem straight away would be he's got people on 200-300 grand a week who can't play football the way he wants to play. And that's the problem that Ten Hag's got. And that's the problem that Rangnick had. So I just think we'd be stepping into the mistake that the Glazers made year after year, whereby you sack a manager, you bring a manager in that you want to play a certain brand of football, and then that manager realises he can't do it, and then the club won't sell those players. This is the problem that Ten Hag had. This is the problem that Rangnick had, whereby you're coming in to play a brand of football, and then the Glazers say, but you can't sell these players that can't do it. Goldbridge, that's the end of the clip. I'm sure you enjoyed it. In fact, I bet that's the best clip you've ever watched. So there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a clip again. In fact, smash a like on the video because we all know only legends like videos and you are all legends. So please smash a like on the video and we will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much for watching as always.